Good afternoon, everybody. It's Tony Margaritelli here, Chairman at ICPA, and welcome to my In Practice blog. January, what a time of year. As you drive around everywhere late at night, you look up and all the lights are on and it's all accountants' offices. What should you do? The first thing is you've got clients, it's in January, they haven't brought their books and records in. What should you do? Well, first of all, I suppose you've got to consider, do you want to retain them as a client? If you do, if you're of a mind, and it is your own individual decision, if you're of a mind to, obviously you need to get in touch as soon as possible and basically lay down certain ground rules to get their stuff in as soon as humanly possible. This time of the year, everyone goes mad about getting their clients working, and it's not going to happen next year. Next year we're going to be better. You have to focus on your clients throughout the year. Those who are late every year tend to be the same people all the time. So you need to focus on those during the course of the coming year. What you find with most people is a letter is helpful, but it won't necessarily do the trick. It probably needs the personal touch. Give them a ring, tell them off, cajole them, try them. Discounts could come into play, or incentives, but really and honestly, I don't see how you should need to incentivize someone to do what they should be doing anyway. But by just talking to them, cajoling them, you stand a better chance during the course of the year. Of course, if they're bringing them in January, you haven't got a lot of time left to do it. So the first thing to do is to take a step and stop and think. They've brought the stuff in, sit down, look at it before they leave the room. It's a dangerous game when they just drop them off and you say, leave them there, we'll get round to it. As soon as you start looking at it, you realise you're missing half the information, or that bank statements or whatever. A 2-minute trawl through the records, most accounts will be able to realise if everything is there. A couple of sensible questions: have you changed any of your assets in the year? Have you bought a new car? Have you bought a new computer? Have you taken out a new bank loan? Yes, I have. Have I got the loan? No. Get it me now. That will save you time. If you leave it and as the time moves on and then you start looking at the book, oh, and there's no loan agreement, it does save you if you just spend a few minutes. Don't let them rush off and just drop the books on. It also gives you a chance to have a moan at them as to why they're leaving it to January. New clients coming in January now is always an interesting topic. There are firms out there who almost grow their practice in January by making claims that they will guarantee to get the job done, or suffer the fine, and of course they know they're not going to get the job done, so they suffer the fine, but in essence claim the fee for the price of a £100 fine or what have you. Obviously, when January comes in, you've got to remember you're going to have to get clearance letters, and we know it's not you've got to get a clearance letter, but you need to get clearance letters, you need to get information from an outgoing accountant quite possibly. You're going to need money laundering to be done. It's not going to be a 2-minute exercise, and if you try and rush that, that's when you're going to make a mistake. That's when you're going to regret it later on. So January is very, very fraught, and you have to consider whether you want to take on this client who's bringing it in January, knowing full well. So all of those things come into mind, and it's up to each individual practitioner to make their own choices. But to just think, oh, here's a fee coming in January, is a dangerous game to play. Well, again, at this sort of time, the sprint into the final self-assessment season, it'd be interesting to see whether ICPA members and accounting members are experiencing this buying the fee for the price of a fine. It happened a few years ago. It seems to have died off. I haven't had too much people ringing in about it at this time, but it'd be interesting to see. One final point that I think I neglected to say, going back on an earlier matter, if at this time of the year it is important that if stuff is coming in January, you should probably have a letter on hand that you can hand out to all of these clients, stating that whilst you do your very best to get it in by the end of January, you cannot guarantee, unless of course you can guarantee it. But if you have that letter, you know, what you don't want is lots of complaints to your institute or your organisation saying, oh, he didn't get it in time. He had loads of time. It was only the 7th of January.